Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. There is a charity called Mermaids. It was ostensibly set up to help transgender children, but that's not what it is. What it is a group of individuals who are getting together to deliberately harm children, physically, emotionally, and one could even say sexually. They are hiding things from the parents and they are lying to the children to such an extent that some of the things they are saying are not only wrong, but they're dangerous. Should this charity be closed? Should it stop receiving public money? Should the people running it be prosecuted and do some serious time for the damage they are causing? Let's have a look at this article. Now, I've been through this once and it got me very angry, so I'm going to have to try and go through this time not so angry, so bear with me. Trans charity Mermaids gives harmful chest-flattening binders to teenage girls and advises troubled youngsters that puberty blockers are safe and totally reversible. Calls for probe after massive red flags are exposed. Let me say, they are giving these chest binders without parental consent and sometimes directly against parental wishes. And they're saying that puberty blockers are safe. They're not. And that they're totally reversible. They're not. They are grooming children and they're lying to children and they're destroying children's lives and children's futures. These people are mentally ill and they're sick and they should be kept a long way from children. And this should not be a charity. It should have its charitable status removed immediately. There should be a thorough, total investigation. And a lot of these people running this need to be up in front of a court and going to jail for a long time for the damage they're causing to children. Anyway, getting in. The investigation found that staff from the trans charity Mermaids sent out chest binders. The binders were sent to children who presented as 13 and who said their parents were opposed. They're groomers. And they're also doing this to change the sexuality of children. And that, to me, is S abuse. That is, you can't say the full term there because of the YouTube algorithm. It's abuse of an S nature. These people are SAing children. They're also physically and emotionally abusing them. Studies have found that the use of binders can have harmful medical consequences and psychological ones. Mermaid staff ordered to send a breast binder to a girl they believed was only 14 after being told she was banned from using one by her mother. They heard this and they still sent it out. They are grooming and they're damaging that child. According to an investigation by the Daily Telegraph, the charity has been offering binders to children as young as 13, despite their parents saying they oppose the practice. When you're going and doing things to children that their parents don't like, that's abuse. You need to be up in front of a court and doing a long time, many years, and be on a register for the remainder of your sad life. The newspaper also said the charity's online help centre tells children who present themselves as young as 13 and 14 that hormone-blocking drugs are safe and totally reversible. They are not safe. They are incredibly dangerous. They need a consultant to issue them, theoretically. But in actual fact, and as we saw from the Tavistock Centre, they weren't. They were sometimes just handed out by locums or even by non-medical personnel. And it says that, and they say they're totally reversible. They completely are not. And especially in someone sort of 12, 13, 14, still developing, you get those changes at that point and you are sterile and it's not reversible. Mermaids is a taxpayer-funded group which supports transgender children. I think the word supports is strong. I believe they need to be using the word abuses and damages transgender children and their families, and runs training for schools and the NHS. It needs to be nowhere near schools. Breast binding, also known as chest binding, is the act of flattening breasts by the use of constrictive materials. The ultra-tight garments can cause horrendous health problems, including breathing and breastfeeding difficulties, chronic back pain and broken ribs, increasing the chance of a punctured lung. Campaigners have called for regulators to step in and launch an investigation into what they call safeguarding red flags. This needs to be made illegal. Chest binders are used by a growing number of girls who believe they are in the wrong sex to disguise their breasts and make them look like boys. That is the problem. These girls are not the wrong sex. They are gaslit. These people are on this trans lobby, this evil, dangerous, mentally ill group of the trans lobby is on the likes of TikTok, pushing an agenda against girls. Oh, look, be a boy. It's much better. Be a boy. Because they don't care about the children. They want to use them as the foot soldiers in their war. And they do not give one shit about these children. They don't care at all. They just want numbers, numbers, numbers the whole time. A lot of these girls aren't transgender. What they are is they're confused. They're upset. They might be going through grief. There might be other issues. No one's doing psychological examinations or psychiatric examinations on them. No one knows what the basic problem is. And they're pushing them down this line. And it could be that they're nothing at all to do with transgenderism. They could be like grief, or they could be lesbians. They're just confused. But no, get them in there, sterilise them, and screw their future, and hell to the consequences. And that's what this bunch of dangerous bastards are doing. Anyway, the practice was condemned as painful and potentially harmful by Dr. Hilary Cass, the former president of the Royal College of Paediatrics, in an interim review of trans children's services for the NHS. It was her review that closed the Portman and Tavistock. It was deemed so dangerous they had to close it because of what they were doing. The abuse, psychological, emotional, physical and abuse of children. The binders, which often look very similar to a vest or crop top, are typically made of nylon and spandex, and when worn, the extremely tight-fitting undergarment compresses the breasts to create the illusion of a flat chest. But medical experts have highlighted their dangers. One senior doctor warned they can cause fractured ribs and chronic chest and back pain, and may even stop girls from breastfeeding in later life. Well, that won't bother them, because if they're going down that route and they take those drugs, they won't ever have to worry about breastfeeding, because they're sterilised. They'll have sterilised themselves, and even if they're not what they thought they were and they want to go back and regret everything they've done, too late. These sick weirdos at Mermaids have destroyed that child and destroyed that child's future and taken away any hope that child will ever be a mother, because that's their mentality. They need the numbers. They need to push this agenda and screw the child. Anyway, going back now, Stephanie Davies-Arai, mentioning here Stephanie Davies-Arai, she's a bloody hero of this channel. She has a group called Transgender Trend. It's a big campaign group. Look for it on Twitter. I advise you to do that. They have a lot of people on her side because it's filled with normal people who care about children, normal people who care about the world in which we live and how we shouldn't remove the future of children because of political agendas and mad mental illness-ridden people. Anyway, she says that this is a great safeguarding concern because breast binding is basically a form of self-harm. Well, it's not self-harm when the people doing it are gaslit into it. It's abuse by the trans lobby. She went on to say that Mermaids was issuing inaccurate and impartial information and that parents deserve to know all of the information, whatever decision they make in the end. Yeah, I mean, they're saying these things are safe, and they quite clearly aren't. The campaigner added that an investigation into Mermaids is long overdue, a sentiment echoed by Miriam Cates, Tory MP for Penistone and Stockbridge, who calls the findings huge safeguarding red flags. We like Miriam as well. Again, check out her Twitter feed and Facebook page. She talks a lot of sense. Normally, you think MPs and that, but I've got to be honest, she's one of the actual good ones. And some of the things she says are just so spot on and on target for everything she says. And I completely agree with what she does, and good luck to her. Fellow campaigner Maya Forstater, who won legal protection for having gender-critical views back in 2019, again, another friend of the channel, we admire her, said on Twitter that the practice by Mermaids was not okay and that the organisation should not be in schools. Nobody thinks they should, and should be investigated by the Charity Commission. No, I agree. Yes, should be investigated by the Charity Commission. But not only the Charity Commission, should be investigated by the police and all the authorities, because what they are doing is so detrimental to the future and mental well-being of these children. The Leeds-based charity is headed up by Susie Green, a former IT consultant who served as CEO since 2016 and who took her own child to Thailand aged 16 for genital surgery, as the minimum age in the UK is 18. So we have safeguards in this country to say that you must be 18, and she thought, well, that's not good enough for my child. I'm going to go and have my child surgically altered because I want that. At 16, I'm going to mutilate my child at 16. I bet you that before she took the child to Thailand to be mutilated, she didn't take the child to a psychiatrist. Guarantee that child never saw psychiatric help. Her daughter Jackie, let's rephrase that, her son Jack, and his struggles with the transition partly inspired the TV drama Butterfly, which aired in 2018. And it comes as Mermaids is embroiled in a legal battle after the group launched an appeal against the decision of the Charity Commission to grant LGB Alliance legal status last year. Yeah, now this group, Mermaids, is actually fighting another charity because the other charity is called the LGB, Lesbian, Gay and Bi Alliance. But they're going, oh, but that's not right, it hasn't got trans in it. Well, that's because LG and B are attractions. T is a mental illness. It's got nothing to do with the LGB bit. It's believed the first time a charity has sought to remove a charitable status from another charity. Well, as soon as this charity loses its charitable status, the better. Now I'm going to come up and round off. I've managed to do that without blowing my top, which is amazing. Anyway, see you up there. These people are monsters. They're not content with destroying their own lives. They now have to come en masse for children. Lots and lots of children. They are obsessed with children. They keep pushing lies, dangerous, medically dangerous lies on children, giving them, against parental permission, devices that could potentially harm them, encouraging them to have genital surgery. Mutilating children is their goal. They need to be locked up. They certainly, at the very least, need to be on a register and a long, long way from getting their hands on the children they so desire. They're weird, they're ill, they're sick, and they're the very, very tiny minority. You have the tiny minority of the trans themselves, and then their hangers-on and fellow travellers who seem to think it's a virtue signal to pander to their mental illness rather than sorting it out with proper psychiatric help. Well, it's not good enough. This charity needs disbanding, they need investigation, they need imprisonment, and they need to be kept away from children. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, look after your children, and goodbye.